Week 17 of the fantasy football season, and if you made it to your championship, congratulations this week. So here's the top 12 tight ends. I'm ranking this week number 1, Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs. So there's not much to say about Travis Kelce anymore. We know he's one of the best tight ends of all time. We know he's been the best tight end in fantasy football the last 4 or 5 seasons. And this week here, he's got a great matchup versus the Denver Broncos that just got torn up by Tyler Higbee for 9 catches, 94 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So this week here, Travis Kelce, I think he's going to go out there. I think he's going to have another great performance. And this Chief team here, they should roll, even though I know it's a division matchup and those games get tricky. And we saw a few weeks ago the Broncos give the Chiefs a game, even though the Chiefs got off to a 20-plus point lead in that one. But Travis Kelce comes out in this one and puts on a great performance. Number 2, TJ Hockenson, Minnesota Vikings. So TJ Hockenson last week, he exploded for a monster fantasy game, going over 35 fantasy points. So this week here, decent matchup with the Green Bay Packers. Big game for the Packers, obviously, trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. But you know, this Minnesota Viking team, they want to try to get that first seed, and they want to try to put this, obviously, Green Bay Packer team away this season, where they don't have to go to the playoffs and knock their division rival off. So TJ Hockenson, great acquisition at the trade deadline for this Minnesota Viking team. And the thing is, though, the Lions are still on the hunt as well here, which is funny for trading Hockenson. But now Hockenson, number 2 target in this offense. I think he's overpassed Adam Thielen. And obviously Justin Jefferson, the number 1 guy in the passing game. But this week here, after coming off a monster performance last week, I could see Hockenson have another good game this week. And I got him in number 2, number 3, Evan Ingram of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So over the last 3-4 weeks here, Evan Ingram, he's been a man on a mission, and he's been putting up monster numbers, is Ingram, with at least a couple ball games, over 100 yards receiving in the last week at the New York Jets. In a rainy ball game, he went over 100 yards in that one, was Evan Ingram. So this week here, good matchup with the Houston Texans. Indoor game, always a plus this late in the season. And this Texan defense, I know they go out there and try, but I think Ingram could have a good ball game. And to be honest, he's been Jacksonville's number 1 target over the last few weeks. I got him in number 3, number 4, George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers ever since Deebo Samuel's been out over the last couple weeks. And Brock Purdy's entered the starting lineup with Jimmy Garoppolo hurt. George Kittle, he's been back to form like he was a few seasons ago, putting up monster fantasy games. And now he's got 2 30-point fantasy games in the last 3 weeks here is George Kittle. So this week here, another good matchup with the Vegas Raiders that obviously don't really stop anyone on defense. It's an indoor game. And I think the Niners are going to go in there and take care of business. And George Kittle, once again, will have a good ball game. I don't think he's going to get 30 fantasy points, but definitely anywhere from the 15 to 20 range is a possibility. Number 5, Dallas Goedert of the Philadelphia Eagles. So Goddard came back last week versus the Dallas Cowboys. I know he didn't have the greatest of games, but he's still a tight end that could go out there and make some big plays. This week, a good matchup versus New Orleans. And another thing as well, their home is this Philadelphia Eagle team, and their offense really goes off at home than it does on the road. So Gardner Minshew, he's a capable quarterback, getting the football spread around, obviously. We saw it last week versus the Dallas Cowboys, and this week here, I think Dallas Goedert has another good ball game, and I got him at 5, number 6, Mark Andrews of the Baltimore Ravens. So Mark Andrews over the last month and a half with injuries and Lamar Jackson out, the productions went way down, and you know he was the number 2 tight end drafted in fantasy leagues this season, but he definitely fell off, is Mark Andrews. 3 games in a row without double-digit fantasy points. Lamar Jackson not looking great that he's going to play him this week. He hasn't practiced so far, but this week here, he's got a good track record versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, and if Tyler Huntley just could find ways to get Mark Andrews the football, I think they could have something cooking here, and Andrews could put up a big game. So I know some other people have Andrews ranked lower, but right now, number 6, I still think it's reasonable. There's no doubt about it. He could turn things around and come out with a big ball game. Number 7, Dawson Knox of the Buffalo Bills. So Dawson Knox over the last few weeks, he's getting back to form like he was last season, finding the end zone, being a big threat in the passing game here for Josh Allen and this Buffalo Bill team. And this week here, they're going to need all of it, in my opinion, at the Cincinnati Bengals in a ball game that could be a great shootout. 2 good teams in the AFC, and this is a big game for both teams, almost like a playoff game for positioning of what seed they're going to get and trying to go for home field as well. So right here, Dawson Knox, I think he'll make a few plays in this ball game. I don't know if he'll find the end zone once again, but definitely 40, 50 yards. I could at least see him getting this one. Number 8, Tyler Higbee of the Los Angeles Rams. Higbee broke out last week with a monster game, 9 catches, 94 yards and 2 touchdowns versus the Denver Broncos. And now they're staying in LA, obviously. The battle of LA here versus the Chargers. Chargers get the home game, but obviously it's the same stadium. And Tyler Higbee is pretty much one of the last men standing on this offense over here for Los Angeles. Cooper Kupp out for the season. Allen Robinson out for the season. Ben Skowronek out for the season. Van Jefferson not doing much. And Tutu out. Well, what do you think he's really going to do? A slot guy getting big-time playing time. So Tyler Higbee, he was the main target of Baker Mayfield in last week's ball game. And this week here, again, I think he's going to get peppered with targets on the volume alone. I'm going to have him in number 8. Number 9, Pat Freiermuth of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Freiermuth, believe it or not, he's a top 7 tight end in fantasy points this season. And this week here, a decent matchup at the Baltimore Ravens. Kenny Pickett likes him as a security blanket, and on third downs where he needs to get that first to hit Freiermuth in these situations. And Freiermuth over the last Freiermuth in the first 2 seasons of his NFL career, he's becoming a better route runner. He's a guy that pretty much don't drop passes, and if it's in the vicinity, he's going to catch it. And this week here, Baltimore, a team he's obviously familiar with in the division. I think he could have another decent ball game. And I got him at 9, number 10, David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns. And Njoku, he's been up and down over the last few weeks. This whole offense, to be honest, was more steady in the passing game in terms of Cooper, Peoples-Jones, and Njoku with Jacoby Brissett instead of Deshaun Watson. But for whatever reason, Watson's not playing good football. Maybe it's the couple years off, or maybe he's lost a step or 2 sitting on the sidelines. Whatever it is, David Njoku this week here, he's bumped down all the way to 10. A couple weeks ago, he was within the top 5 in the rankings weekly. But this week, a decent matchup at the Washington Commanders, where I think he can make a few plays in the middle of the field. Their linebacking core isn't all that great here. And Deshaun Watson, if he wants to start winning ball games and getting better stat lines, I think he's got to target Njoku a little more. We saw it a couple weeks ago where he had 18 fantasy points. And then last week, he virtually did nothing. So this week here, I got him at 10. Number 11, Darren Waller of the Vegas Raiders. So the Raiders make a quarterback change here with 2 weeks left in the season. Going, obviously, from Derek Carr, who's been the quarterback for multiple seasons now. And now going to Stidham at quarterback, which definitely could be a downgrade, no doubt about it. But to be honest, Derek Carr, he's been hit or miss as well this season. So this is a ball game where I think they're going to be trailing early and often is this Raider team versus a great San Francisco 49er defense. And we could see a lot of Stidham security blanket throws to his tight end and Darren Waller. And Waller, we know he's a great playmaker. I know he definitely lost a step or 2 with all the injuries and some bad hits he's taken over the last couple seasons. But this week here, with the backup quarterback in there and him needing the security blanket and a game where they're going to be chasing points, I got Waller at 11 after coming off of 2 pretty decent ball games in his return. And the 12th and final tight end I'm ranking this week, Dalton Schultz of the Dallas Cowboys. So Schultz, he had a couple monster games in the first few weeks, Dak Prescott's return. But the last 2 weeks here, he really hasn't done anything as Schultz. But it's a decent matchup at Tennessee. It's a ball game where I think Schultz finally breaks out a little bit in this one, where all the defense attention going to be on CeeDee Lamb after he's coming off a monster ball game versus the Philadelphia Eagles. So this week here, I think him and Dak hook up on a few passes in this ball game. And I wouldn't be surprised if he finally finds the end zone as well, which he hasn't in a few weeks. So that's the top 12 tight ends I'm ranking for Week 17 of the fantasy football season.